Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at the book The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. For you folks, I just read it last night, finished it last week, finished it last night for the first time ever in my life. For you folks, I was told that this was a harder read because it's really more of a history rather than just, a normal, typical novel with basic plot points and that sort of a thing. I picked this up, as you can tell from the title. This was one of the ones that I picked up in that big, giant used book sale that's over in a state park over in Pennsylvania when I was there visiting my aunt and uncle for a weekend and so forth. And I picked up a bunch of used books there, and this one was $1 and so forth. I'd always wanted to read it because, I like historical stuff, so I never was considered it a major challenge and so forth. It was the next book in my queue when I went away for vacation last week in Hawaii, and I was vacationing there for spring break. Just got back and so forth yesterday, and so I'd never been in Hawaii before, so it's my first time to go there. I felt that was a good time to knock it out. I'm trying to knock out all 50 states and only have left a handful, and so I figured I didn't knock it out. It felt very spring breaky to go to Hawaii, right, and so forth. And since that's a long flight, and I wanted to split up my flight into two smaller chunks, so I flew to LAX, which is about 6 hours from Baltimore, and then another 6 hours from LAX to Hawaii, and I did the same thing on the way back. And so forth. And I figured that this book, even though it's not the biggest book, it's novel size and so forth, but I figured how chunky it was and so forth, and how dense, Tolkien can be, and how historical people thought it was going to be. I figured it was going to be like this major dig, right? On the way over, I knocked out 100 pages, and I only had like a few, like a little bit, like I was almost halfway done. So I took some time off, to take, because of how early my flight left in Baltimore that morning. I took some time off to sleep, and I was still knocked out 100 pages. Definitely was loving it and so forth. And I was like, I'm going to blow through this. This is not going to slow me down and be my vacation book, right? So I bought another book there in the bookstore and so forth while I was there in LAX waiting for my next thing. As a backup book. After I knocked this out, and then another 135 pages on the way there. So I was 235 pages into a novel that only has it's a little less than 400. It's like 420 or something like that. But once you start knocking off like the appendices and the indexes and all that sort of a thing, it's not even a full 400 pages, right? I was 235 pages in a day, just flying, and so forth. So I was devouring this book because I was really loving it. That's sort of a thing. So I finished it just a couple days later. I did take a day off and didn't read anything because I had a long day. I didn't get back into the hotel until 7 p.m. on Tuesday, so I didn't knock out anything last Tuesday and so forth. But there you are. It did take me another day in time, but not in reading time, right? So that was fun. I definitely blew through it very, very quickly. Loved it and so forth. Now, as a reminder, I have gone back and read some things for this channel and myself too, that was written by J.R.R. Tolkien in the Silmarillion world. They're sort of expanding these things like of Beren and Luthien, or the Children of Hurin, or the fall of Gondolin, those sorts of things, and so forth, which I have read and reviewed. So I felt, because I had read those and had that knowledge of these expanded tales and so forth, I thought that was going to be really good and so forth. Also, I thought the chapters were typically pretty small, except for a handful that were like 30 plus pages that would take like a lot longer for me to knock out. Sometimes there were 233 plus or longer. In one case, pages that were all about like Children of Hurin, which was one of the key ones that I'd already read. That was a 33 page plus one, and there was another one that was even longer. That was the one about Luthien and Beren and so forth in that tale that we'll find out more about later on in LA. Or also we find out that has become a big giant tale for Arwen's era, right? The woman who falls in love with the guy and so forth, like Aragorn and Arwen. So that's kind of cool too, to see that. So I'd already read these longer, expanded things and enjoyed them. So I figured since I did that, I'd also be able to do this too. But it was fun. I liked it. Blew through it in a few days. And I definitely can see why some people were a little against it here and there. but I thought it was fun. I definitely enjoyed it, and I liked it more than I thought some of the characterizations of it can be, and so forth. So, it's Tolkien. He's a great writer. Even in this, I just don't think you'll get bored. Although I can understand why some people would have issues with all the dense conversations and detailed stuff like here's a name, 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 here's a place that they're born, here's where they live in like a chapter. Right? It's very, very dense with names and stuff like that. So I get why, but once you're familiar with the world, I just don't think it's worth the reputation that it has. So I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 for you folks, because I blew through it and I loved it much better than I thought people were going to have it than its tradition is. So I loved it. I thought it was great. So that's my review of the Silmarillion for you folks. It's a denser work by a guy who's beloved and one of the most popular people, and definitely somebody who put fantasy on the map in a major way. And his people are still writing his stuff, living his dream and writing in his worlds even today. Even though there's been a lot of people that have pushed against that, his stuff still most like Michael Moorcock, his stuff, which is law versus chaos, and instead of Tolkien's good versus evil. Or stuff like that, and has anti-heroes and stuff like that, whereas Tolkien doesn't. Still his stuff is still really resonant and heavily influential, even through today, right? So I appreciate that, and so it's definitely, I think there's some value here, and so forth. And I definitely think this is an 8 out of 10. Have you read it? If so, what'd you think about it? Let's talk about it in the comments below, whatever your thoughts are. As a reminder, this title's name for this channel, rather, is the worst thing about new books, which is a quote by our French philosopher Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about new books was that they kept us from reading the old ones. And so I definitely enjoyed this. This was published about 4 years posthumously after his death. He had written it earlier, and he kept coming back to it and so forth. So you can also read it and so forth. I'll link it to you in the comments below, whatever your thoughts are. If you enjoyed this, why not hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be a lot more videos coming in. If you're on first, you hit the bell icon so that way you'll be known of my 3 videos that I upload a week for you folks. And then finally, I just want to pause and take a moment to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video, because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.